Hello and welcome to another video. Today I'll be showing you an overview of my latest Retro Future artwork, made in Affinity Designer and using the Retro Future brush set compatible with Affinity Designer and Affinity Photo. If you're interested, the link's in the description below. I'll also be giving away the source file for this artwork, which you see in front of you, including a full vector Ferrari Testarossa and the 80s background you see. Thanks for watching and enjoy. I'm giving the source file for this whole image. Everything you see in it is yours. So the vectorized pieces of it are the city in the background, the neon grid, and the Ferrari Testarossa, which you see here. Everything else I've used the brush set for. You'll also be getting this light flare in there as well, which is a vector. I'm going to start taking away the brushes so you can see what it has done for the image, and if you look down here on the right hand side in the layers panel, you'll see the name of the brushes and you'll see them disappear from your view. First of all, I'll get rid of these TV lines. If you look closely, you can see these lines. Older TVs used to have this back in the day, sometimes when you were watching VHS, if you know what that is. Okay, so you can see what it was like before using these brushes. There are 40 brushes, and in this, obviously you can tell I haven't used that many at all. So there's plenty more to see. Okay, I'm going to show you the car, and I'm going to break it down for you so you can see a little bit how I made it. All made in Affinity Designer. I'm just going to go a brief overview around the car and show you how I made certain sections of it and how I made it, and also just so that you know how the files are working on the right hand side, how you can change it, because you will be able to change the color of this car and do whatever you want with it when you download it. On the right hand side you can see everything's in a section. Some things aren't, but most things are. So like the small grille down there, lower cutout where the exhausts are, the actual grille, and top of the car. So basically it's like three main sections, and then there's a few shapes floating around that aren't grouped into any section, and I've done that because they are in front of the main sections, so they don't need to be grouped. Anyway, let's start off by going to the top of the car. Alright, as you can see here, there's a blue line surrounding this whole shape. So basically I drew this whole shape and included all the other lighting and shading and everything inside that. So I'm just going to start breaking it down for you so you can see what it's made from. So if I zoom in here, you'll see there's a black bar left. That one should say black bar right, sorry about that guys. But hopefully this will help you to show where things are and whether you should change them to however you wish. So I'm just going to start taking bits away. I drew this with the pen tool up here. I just made a shape and made it black with the fill tool here. I'll take these away now, and hopefully you'll just be left with the main shape that I've included everything in. So these two little black bars here, left and right, I'm taking them away. Alright, so the upper shade, in this little cove area here, it needed some shading because obviously the light's probably most likely above in most circumstances. And with this one, again, I just chose the pen tool. I drew a shape and I made the fill tool. I clicked on the fill tool and chose a color. If I take this away, you can see the next section is I wanted to show the reflection of the light. So I just drew this with the pen tool, this shape. I nested that inside the top car. If you see the top of the car, that's one whole shape, and everything inside of it, I've nested it in there. So that's that side. I'll take that away. And same for the right side, left side here. It's another reflection. I'll take that away. And there's these little ones here. You'll see just small reflections of light that might be hitting different parts of the metal of the car. So that's that whole section done. If I take it away, you can see what it looks like. It's just a shape I've made with the pen tool. Now you'll see here I've actually cut something out of it. In order to cut a shape out of another shape, you purely have to draw a shape wherever you want here. I'll just do it with the circle. You select that, and you select your shape, and then you come up here, and you press subtract. That will take out a chunk of the car. So if I move that around now, you can see through the hole. Rear view mirror. I used this tool quite a lot on this design. The rounded rectangle tool. You can see I've just created a shape like that. I'll just draw one underneath. Create a shape. Let's make it black, shall we? Go up to the fill tool, make it black. I can grab the shape. I can copy and paste. Command J just copies and pastes it. And I can make it smaller. See here? And like that. Change the color. Done. You'll see in the actual mirror I've made the smaller shape. That's the actual mirror here. There's the grid that I've just dragged and dropped that inside of this shape. So I've nested it. I've taken this shape here, original grid, and I've taken it down and right, and it chucks it in there so it's nested. You can see you can still play around with it. On here I've used the rectangle tool. It's just a black bar. Look, simple. Chucked it on there, no worries. Okay, so that's the top of the car done. If you go in, I wasn't sure what to call this actually, because I don't know cars that well, but I've called it a red slab. On this one, the trapezoid tool, just over here, and you can see the kind of shape. I'll just try and recreate it here. Okay, by using this, you can also, if I head on over to the node tool, I can hold on to this red dot, and I can play around with it to change the shape. If I wanted to change both this dot and this dot, if I want to change it so it reflects exactly the same, like so, I just hold down the command tool before I click and drag. And also you can see on the corners, they are rounded. So to get them rounded, I've gone up here to the corner tool, clicked it, and because I want to do all of the corners, I will click and drag to select all of these nodes. And then I just simply move in and out to get different amounts of a rounded corner. And that's how I've done that. Also, you can do them individually. So I can just click and drag. Oops. I can click and drag this one. If I wanted that one to be a little bit more rounded, then you can do that too. And within this shape, I've included a fill. And so instead of making it red, I've just made it a gradient. And I'll show you. So if it was completely red like that now, you can see it's completely red. I head on over to gradient, and it's on linear. That's what I want. And I can choose the amount of color that I put in there. So it will choose a color for you. I've chosen dark, deep red. So you click on that, and you click on color, and you can change that one there. Same thing for the other side. That's the other side of it. You can see over here. Again, change the color to however you wish. If you want to show the direction of the fill tool, you can click on this. It's a fill tool, and you can play around with how it is already, and you can drag this. Also, you can make it go in any other direction. And obviously, you can see I've included a couple of shapes. This is just for reflection purposes. With the pen tool, made it white and nested it inside. Okay, here I assume this is, I've named it under red slab. I assume it's like an air vent for some kind of engine. I've used the trapezoid tool, which is exactly the same tool I just used on that red slab. I've drawn the shape and I've nested within that shape lots of rectangles. You can see here I can select one, just a very long rectangle using the rectangle tool. If you look at the fill tool, so for the color, I've just played around with contrast, light and dark, to get the kind of reflection of light that might occur on a grill. If I take away a few, you can see that I've nested them within a black shape. Alright, let's get rid of that. Heading on over to the wing mirrors. Again, another simple shape that everyone can do. It's very simple. Grab the rounded rectangle tool, draw a shape, choose a color. I should probably put that here so you can see it. Choose a color, red. Okay, you want another one inside of it for the mirror. Command J on a Mac. That's created another one. I click on the arrow tool again, and there we go. Just by holding Shift, I can just reduce it in this direction. By holding Command, I can change the length of it, both sides. I've changed that to a black. You can if you want. And if you want to nest an image within that, you just drag. So here's the two layers. There's the wing mirror outer, and here's the actual mirror. If I wanted to include an image inside that, like I have done here, I just drag it in this grid. So this is the neon grid that I had before. I've just copied it and pasted it. So if I wanted to add it onto this one here, imagine you have an image you want to chuck in there. You just go ahead and see underneath and to the right, and that's nested it in there. You can see it's vanished because it's still down here, but all I have to do is drag it up, and there we go. The headrests. Grab the rectangle tool, draw it. You can still see it's still got the fill I had before. I'll just make it black. And I want to round off these two corners. So I'm going to go up here, corner tool. I'm going to drag this over both of these nodes, and I'm just going to click and drag it in. You can see you can go all the way to, so it's like a circle. I'm going to do it like that. And literally that's how I made that shape. We're left with the lower section of the car. I'll just breeze through this because I've shown you how to do a few of these shapes before. So if I just get rid of this for now. Behind, you can see I've just drawn a black rectangle. On top of it, I've included the rear tail lights. And for this, I will drag it out so you can see what it looks like. I've used the rounded rectangle tool. And for the fill, I've used the gradient, but instead of the linear gradient we used before, I used elliptical. And this gives the appearance of a more rounded light within it. And you can see here, you can change the color just as we did with the linear gradient. And you can add different spots onto it, make it more snazzy. And that's how I've made those. The bumper shape you can see here. If I go around, the blue line surrounds it. I've just used the pen tool, and I've drawn around this shape here to make sure that it is the same both sides. What I did was I drew the shape. I'll just draw a rubbish shape here. I've just drawn a shape like this. I'll make it red. And if I wanted it to be exactly the same on the other side, I'd go to the pen tool, that's selected. I would press Command J, that's going to copy it. And now we've got another copy you see here. And I head up here to flip horizontal, flipped it. Now I'm just going to drag out like this and make sure they touch together. And now that I've got two of these shapes, as you can see here, I'm going to select both of them, so Command Select. They're both selected, and I'm going to press this button up here. It's called Add. That's going to add them together so they're one shape. So now you see here it's one shape. That's what I've done here, and I've nested all the different color and reflection within that. So you can see here I've called it lower car, so you can change the color or whatever you want on it. You can see I've added the linear gradient from black to red here, like I showed you earlier. Inside of that, I've gone to the bumper and I've just included a slight reflection, so the red is going to be slightly lighter if it's daylight. And within that, I've also included this. It's kind of like on the edge of the bumper where the sun might reflect most. Only a little addition, but it kind of adds that extra something, that kind of realism. So I'll start taking them away. So that's the bumper gone. Lower cutout, you can see here. So if we go in, you can see I've just created this shape. I'm going to go to the exhausts first. I'm going to pull them out. Literally, they are just black round circles created using the ellipse tool, and I've grouped them together so I can move them around like this. Let's get rid of those. And behind it I've included this lower cutout section here. So all these shapes are nested within there, and they are the exhausts, just so it shows the lighting from daylight hitting it to it going deep within the car. So this color is going to change slightly. If I pull one out, you can see I've literally just created a rectangle and I've nested in there a couple of circles. And I've given them a slight Gaussian blur just to sort of reflect the changing of light. As you can see there, give it more or less depending on how you want it. So that would be it going deep into the car. So that's that shape. If I just go back, Command Z a few times till it's all back in place. So now you can see the red circles are here, and then behind it is that rectangle. And you can see why it makes sense that I would use the Gaussian blur on those circles. If you zoom out a little bit, it looks a bit more realistic. Coming down, there's a lower grille. Again, rectangles with another shape nested within it, and the gradient that I've used on that. You can see I've used the corner tool, which to round off these corners, and I've grouped them all together. The wheels. Okay, so you can see the shape of the wheel I've just created here, and within it I've just created a few shapes to make it look a bit more like a wheel. First of all, you can see I've used the fill tool. Again, I've used the gradient just to go from dark to light to dark again, just to give it that like light would be reflecting slightly off of a wheel. And you can see I've added these curves inside. Again, this is using the pen tool. You can see I wasn't really a perfectionist when I was making this shape, because what the viewer can't see doesn't really matter sometimes. But you can see I've just nested that within that shape, and it's given it that appearance of a wheel. Last one is the number plate. I think you know exactly how I made that now, because I've been using it the whole time. Rounded rectangle tool. I've used another rounded rectangle in there, but I've just included the stroke instead. So if I change that color, black, and Command J to copy that, and make it smaller inside there. And this one I just want to be the stroke so I can get this outline. I'll change the color to white. And you can play around with the width of it with this one here. Again, the trapezoid tool, flipped upside down, that's done. And that is it. That's how I made the car. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to download the free source file of the artwork I've created, you can head on over to artistwright.com/tutorials, and you'll enter this page here and it says free stuff. There it is. You click that and you can download it totally free of charge. If you like the retro future brush set I've used within it as well, and you want to check out more of the brushes, what's included, there's an image here, a clickable link. You just click on that and it will take you through to my brush pack page, where there's another brush pack for you to have a look at. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Stay tuned for more videos.